it's Kylie with you all again today, otherwise known as Paper Sweetpea, and I am an independent creative memories advisor from Australia. I've got a fun little project for you all today featuring the brand new Happy Hauntings collection from Creative Memories. It's a really fun Halloween themed collection, and I'm going to be sharing how to customize a 6x12 peekaboo pocket into a shaker pocket for a 2-page layout. So I've got my 6x12 peekaboo pocket here, as well as a few other supplies to get started. Okay, so we're going to need a few items to create our little peekaboo pocket page. I've gone ahead and just torn just a length of baking paper that you would use in the kitchen. Because the fuse tool gets really hot, I want to make sure that I don't do any damage to my cutting mat, which is why I've just put some baking paper here over my mat. I'm also going to make sure that I work with a metal ruler because obviously a plastic ruler is going to melt. Now over to the side here, I've had my fuse tool heating up on a ceramic plate because again, I don't want to do any damage from this hot tool. If you craft and you have pets or children that come into your space, please be very careful. Now this is made by We Are Memory Keepers and it's called a photo sleeve fuse tool. I've had mine for a very long time and they actually look very different to this now, but they all do the same thing. I think here in Australia you can purchase these from Spotlight or Craft Online, but anywhere where you can buy We Are Memory Keepers, you'll be able to find your tool. Okay, and I've also just purchased a really sweet little sequin mix from Uniquely Creative here in Australia, and I've just tipped a small amount into a little measuring cup that has a little nozzle here, just to try and minimize putting sequins everywhere because there is a very small tiny black shimmer sequin in this mix, so I don't want that going everywhere. So that's just going to help to minimize, hopefully minimize making a big mess. So I'm just going to bring in some black shimmer cardstock, and I have this Spider's Web frame punch. Now this is the new punch that was released with the Happy Hauntings collection from Creative Memories, and what I want to do, I just want some individual little cobweb pieces, so nothing too fancy. I'm just going to align my cardstock to this little black marker here on the left front side of my punch. Just insert that in and I'll punch, and then I'm just going to line up my punch cobweb with the diagram to the left of my punch to get it nice and exact, and keep punching all the way along. Okay, so you can see the effect that gives. I absolutely love it. It's a really fun punch. I think there'd be lots of amazing techniques you can use that punch for. I'll just get rid of my offcuts here. Okay, now we don't want it to be a border. I just want the individual cobweb pieces. So I'm just going to bring in my 12x12 trimmer, and I'm going to align this straight edge to the cutting edge in my trimmer so that I can just cut out the individual cobweb pieces. Like so. You can see that we're left with these very cute halves. I can move that aside now. We don't need our trimmer board. Alrighty, so I'm going to bring in one of the 6x12 peekaboo pockets. Now these have the adhesive strip on the side, which means that that will adhere onto your page protector, and it will allow you to have a little flip page like so. I've just turned off my overhead lighting just to try and minimize the glare working with the pockets, and I'm just checking where my adhesive strip is, what side. Okay, so we need to work with the open edge of the peekaboo, needs to be on the underside of our pocket. And what I want to do, I'm just going to bring in my repositionable tape, and I'm just putting the smallest amount of repo tape on one of my cobwebs. And I'm just going to open up my peekaboo, and I'm just going to adhere that into the straight edge of my peekaboo pocket. And by using just a small amount of the repositionable tape, you're not going to see it. Now these peekaboos are just a fraction bigger than your 6x12, just a fraction. So I know that I can spread out my little cobwebs to make them fit all the way across. Again, it's just the smallest amount of repositionable tape. And if you need to lift any up to reposition them, you can, thanks to the repositionable tape. But that has our cobwebs into the side of our peekaboo pocket. But what I'd like to do now, I'm going to open the pocket out, and I'm just going to bring in my sequin mix. I don't want to put too much in my peekaboo pocket though. I think that's the secret to a really nice shaker pocket, is by not putting too much of the glitter and such, or the sequins that you want to work with. You only need a small amount to be effective. Now I've tried to evenly space that along there, but of course the sequins will shift and change. But for now, we just want to make sure that we've got everything flat down on that edge. So I've just aligned my peekaboo pocket with one of the vertical measurements on my cutting mat. You can still see them through the baking paper. And it's approximately 1 inch from the side of the peekaboo to the tip of the cobweb. And it's very important that we don't run our heat tool through that cardstock or any of the sequins. So I'm actually aligning my ruler 1 1/8 of an inch from the side of that peekaboo pocket. So in theory, it's the first marking past the 1 inch measurement on your cutting mat, and that will ensure enough space from the top of the cardstock to where you're going to seal your pocket. Now the key to using this tool is taking it slow. If you take it slow, you'll get a perfect seal every time. There's no race, and you can see just how slow I'm making my way across the peekaboo pocket. You don't need to apply a lot of pressure. It's the heat that's doing all of the work for you. Okay, so that has our first seal completed on our peekaboo pocket, and you can see now that all of our sequins and our cobwebs are encased into that side strip. So now we can begin working on creating the little pockets for our photos. So I'm just going to lift that baking paper out of the way, and what space we've been left with is approximately 5 inches wide from the seal of that shaker edge to the end of our peekaboo pocket where the opening and the adhesive strip is. So we know we can have a 5-inch wide pocket here that will work for our photos. Okay, so I have my 4 photos here, and I've trimmed some photo mats to measure 5 inches by 4 inches from the black shimmer cardstock, which means I've printed my photos, or you can trim them down, of course, to 4.75 by 3.75. Now, because our photos are going into the clear peekaboo pocket, I'm only going to use 1 photo mat, but adhere my photos front and back with the repositionable tape. And by using those measurements, you're just going to have a lovely neat edge border surrounding your photo. And now we can bring in our peekaboo pocket. I'll just make sure that I've got the opening to the bottom. Yes, I do. So now I can bring in my peekaboo and I can add my top photo. And I've got just enough there, you can see, that adhesive edge to be able to tuck underneath, and that will lift up. And then I've got my second photo to go down the bottom. And those measurements are going to work well because that adhesive strip will tuck in underneath my photos, and then that will obviously turn out. At the moment, I've got a neat 4 inches in the center. So you could put another slightly smaller photo in there if you like. I'm going to add just some journaling or just some decorative elements. But I actually want to use my fuse tool to seal those photos to the side with my photos in place. I'm not going to work with any measurements as such. I just want to eyeball it, purely because I don't want to come in too tight to where my photos are. You don't want to run that fuse tool over your photos, of course. But just to get it as neat as you possibly can, and just bring in my ruler. And I'm probably going to allow 2/8 of an inch from the top of my photo to where I seal that pocket. Now the very important thing is you don't need to start sealing until the edge of that first seal mark that you made, and you want to stop before you get to that adhesive strip. So we're only going to the opening of the peekaboo pocket. And just as we did before, you want to sort of have, I didn't mention this before, you sort of want to have, if you've got this style of fuse tool, of course, if you've got the rotating dial there, you want to sort of have it out on about a 45-degree angle when you're using that onto the peekaboo, because using it straight up and down, you'd probably find that it's not going to work as well. So I've got it tilted out by about 45 degrees, going very slowly, and I'm going to stop as soon as I get to that adhesive strip. Now the thing is, with the fuse tool, you do need to get it right the first time, because to go back over where you've already just sealed, it can actually tear your peekaboo pocket. So that's a very important thing to remember. All right, so now I need to seal in this top photo, and I'm just making sure that it's perfectly straight. If you do that every time, it will turn out perfect. And I'm aligning the top of the photo to one of the vertical straight lines on my cutting mat. And then I'm allowing another 2/8 of an inch to the base of my photo, and I'm going to come in with my fuse tool on that 45-degree angle, starting at that side edge that we've already sealed, just going ever so slow with that on that 45-degree angle, and I'm going to stop once I get to the adhesive strip. Voila! So we've created our top and base pockets for our peekaboo. All right, now because I said we pretty well eyeballed a lot of the positioning for that, and I'm just going to measure this bottom fused edge to where the top is, and we're looking at a space of around about, it's just over the 3.5 inch mark. So I think if I was to cut my little decorative elements at 3.5 inches. That's going to fit nicely into that center pocket. Okay, so I've just brought in a sheet of the brand new Purple Ice solid cardstock. I love this color. And I'm just going to trim a 3.5 inch wide strip from that piece. And we're going to make that 5 inches wide. Okay, so it's just that slightly tiny little bit smaller than what the size of our photos are. But that's okay because we're going to use it as a little accent card. So I'll just check that that will fit nicely into that middle pocket. And that's snug as a bug. Beautiful. Now I just want to use that Purple Ice as our mat. So I've brought in this paper from the Happy Hauntings paper pack. It's a fairly neutral paper. So we know if we've cut that to 5 inches by 3.5, I'm going to cut a 4.75 wide strip. And we need 2 pieces to be 3.25 inches wide. And that should just give us a lovely framed effect with that Purple Ice. So we've got our front and back piece there. I'll just move that out of the way. So if we adhere that to the cardstock, like our photos, you can see we've just got that nice even little framed effect. I'm only using the one piece of cardstock for this centerpiece because again we've got front and back. So I'll adhere that into place, and the same on the reverse side. Like so. And I've just brought in one of the laser cut embellishments that says Happy Hauntings, and I think that would look really sweet towards the base of one of the sides of this card. So to keep in line with our cobweb theme, let's add our little spider's web with the cute little spider. Happy Hauntings. And what else have we got here? Maybe we add some of these beautiful little leaves falling. I really, really love, it's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus. So we'll add that banner to the top of the reverse side. Little stacked pumpkins here. And perhaps we need a bat or two on the reverse side. Add a little bat. I'm just going to bring in my journal pens. So I think I'd like to add just a little freehand drawn border around the edge of my card here. So I'm just going to use the finer tipped end of my black journal pen. Just to add in a little freehand drawn border. I think I'll add another little jack-o'-lantern to the front of that card, like so. So now I can slide that on in to our center pocket. So here's the double page layout that I'm going to add my little peekaboo shaker pocket to. It's a 2-page design that I've created with the Happy Hauntings collection, and I've allowed for 4 6x4 photos, and I've just added some of the laser cut embellishments to each corner, the little cobwebs. This title is actually a cut file that I designed There's a whole bundle of them on my website, which I shall link below. So it's just too cute to spook, which I think suited the photos really well. And I've added a little tag to the side here with some journal strips and just a few simple embellishments as well. So what I'd like to do, I like to use the top loading pocket pages in my albums. Everybody's different, but that's just my preference. So I'll load my layout into the pocket. Now once I have a layout that will go onto the back side of these pages, I will remove that white cardstock. But for now, I'll just slide those in. Like so. And then I can come in and add my little shaker pocket over the top. All right, so I'm just going to peel off the backing strip to that adhesive side. Just going to align the edge of my photos with the side of my layout. And the good thing with these adhesive strips is you can peel that off again if you need to, but I've got that in a really good spot there. Can turn it back over, and I'm just going to use my multi-purpose tool to just give that a little bit of a rub to make sure that that's all stuck down nice and neatly. That seam line just vanishes onto the page protector. Now that I've got my customized peekaboo pocket in place, I'm really happy with how my layouts turned out today. I think it's added a really fun element to my 2-page design, and that's just another fun technique you can use to customize your peekaboo pockets from Creative Memories. Thank you so much for watching today, and we shall see you next time. Bye.